Back with you as we keep a close eye on your grain markets heading toward the end of our trading day today. I'm Arlen Bowling. Let's look at our corn market activity. It's really been struggling today. Let's take a look first at our December contract, and then we'll move through these. Currently on that December corn, we have been trading roughly about a penny lower on average. Right now we're down a penny and a quarter. We're now at 3.80 and a half. Now 3.80 and a quarter. The March contract is down 2 3/4. It's noteworthy that we have the May and July now trading 3 cents lower there if you get into the spring and summer months. Now on the soybeans, currently you have the January contract 5 1/4 lower at 9.29. It is a penny off its low of the day, but still struggling. The March down 5 1/2. In the wheat market now, at times we have a little bit of strength showing up in the wheat. We have December Chicago wheat 2 1/4 higher. We're at 5.17 1/2. Kansas City wheat is not so strong. It is mixed. December up, we'll call it a 1/2 cent higher right now, but you have the March down 1/4 cent and new crop July down a penny and a quarter. By the way, the Minneapolis December is down 1/2. July there is down 2 right now. Let's take a look at, also we have the rice market for you, I believe, and we can take a look at what the rice market is doing today. Here you have the November contract showing a little weakness, down a penny. January up 3 cents, right at $12 a hundredweight. I want to go to the phone and welcome to the program Brian Hoops. He's with Midwest Market Solutions. He's in Springfield, Missouri. And Brian, a real lackluster day in the grains, not much enthusiasm one way or the other. It just seems like it's kind of sagging under its own weight here today when you're looking at corn and soybeans. What do you read into it?
Yeah, we've had a real lackluster couple weeks of exports, either private export sales or weekly export sales and inspections numbers. In fact, it was the second worst of the marketing year on Monday for corn and for wheat, and that seems to weigh on this market in here. We look for a reduction in yields in Friday's reports, and we're going to have to see a pretty large reduction, I'm afraid, if we're going to see prices try and turn back higher. Right now the market does feel somewhat comfortable with prices slowly working its way lower amid the lack of export news and the fact that we pushed this meeting between the U.S. and China back to December. Kind of is another bearish sign that maybe this thing is not very close to being signed, and it's seen as a disappointment to the trade.
Well, do you consider this to be a day off and a day on, though, on the China trade reaction? Because it just seems to kind of get nowhere. It just goes back and forth every other day.
Yeah, the market's not had very positive reactions to it. Even if we get to some good news that we're close to reaching agreement or we're going to sign it, the market doesn't seem to want to respond to it. It's taken more of a wait-and-see approach. It's one that we want to see exactly what type of agreement we're going to have and how much China is going to buy. They've talked about they're willing to purchase, but it's only back to levels that they had been prior to this trade tariffs that we've been enacted with it for over the last 18 months or so.
And, of course, a lot of traders heading for the sidelines here ahead of the USDA numbers coming out Friday. They'll be out at noon Eastern Time, 11 o'clock Central. Brian, we'll take a break right here, and we'll come back and we'll talk about some new information coming out on the cattle industry and the hogs when we return. All right, we're talking with Brian Hoops. He's with Midwest Market Solutions. He is located in Springfield, Missouri. Brian, I was noting off of the wire here earlier this morning, while we haven't really had much in the way of cash cattle activity so far this week, I did see where the asking prices look like they're firming up to around 117 now. That would be a significant amount higher than where we had the cash trade a week ago. Of course, these are asking prices here. I just wondered what you heard this morning.
Yeah, you kind of look at this Fed Cattle Exchange online auction they had this morning. There was 3 lots in Nebraska that were asking 117. They all went unsold. One lot in Kansas asked the same amount. They went unsold. And just no sales at this point. But, if they're not sold on the exchange, they're likely going to be offered to the packers in the normal traditional way of trading cattle at that same level, that 117, and that's what they're asking for. I don't know if they'll get that or not this week. The futures have kind of backed off from their recent gains. That may give the Packers a little bit of an upper hand, but these Packers have a lot of margin to work with. We have big slaughter weeks coming at us, and until they start backing those weeks off, they're likely going to have to pay for higher for cash money. I don't know if we'll see 117, but at least steady to $1 higher is probably in the cards this week.
Yeah, you have to wonder, when we look at live cattle futures right now, we can bring them back up here. And on the nearby contract, we have that December down 53 cents today at 118.92. It does make you wonder if that won't lead the feedlot managers to maybe reconsider what they're asking today if this continues here. Now, we have been having quite a run for several weeks. Now, the February is only 15 lower today at 124.53. It's still within a dime of its high of the day, though. I will give it that. April down 33. On the feeder cattle market, as we switch over there, we now have the November down 72, but all the other months are at least $1.20 lower. January down $1.25 now down 128 at 144.50. And on the lean hog side, I want to be sure to include them here too. Nearby December down 253 at 64.75. February down 80 at 72.95. Brian, they're widening that huge spread out even more today. What is that, about $2.70? They're widening it out between December and the spring and summer months there.
Yeah, and it may even get a little bit wider yet. The weights are creeping up. We're up about 3.2 pounds compared to year-ago levels. So we've got a lot of supply coming at the market right now. And this is not a great demand time frame for the hog market. So we may see this spread even widen out even further. And just this hog market sharply higher yesterday, sharply lower the next day. You go from limit up to almost limit down in just 2 trading sessions. There's a lot of money being changed hands, a lot of flow taking place in this market without really that much fundamental change.
Not for the timid, that's for sure. All right, thank you, Brian. Appreciate it, sir. Brian Hoops of Midwest Market Solutions in Springfield, Missouri. That's what's going on this hour.
All right, thanks, Marlon.